Are you looking to join Cycling Men of Leisure for one of our rides in 2025? We've got a few things on our schedule.
That's right. We'll be attending Big Bragg and also the Bourbon Country Burn.
Big Bragg is in Georgia and Bourbon Country Burn's in Kentucky. Both places are going to be absolutely beautiful. We're going to have teams for both of those events. If you're looking to join us on our team, just send us a message. We'll tell you what to do.
So come on out. It's going to be a good time.
Absolutely.
Well, it's time for Road Adventures with Cycling Men of Leisure, the podcast for cyclists who understand that riding is not just about getting to the destination, but the experience along the way. Now, here are the original Cycling Men of Leisure, Adam and Michael.
Hey, good to be with you, sir.
Happy to be with you again, Adam. How are you?
Doing good. I have an update.
I'm going to assume that you have an update on your bicycle, which, if you have an update, that means you actually went out and braved the horrible road construction and got it to the shop.
Well, I would like to say that it actually is horrible road construction, but I did. I did do it. So the football game was at 3:30 here in the Ann Arbor area, and I said the bike shop opens up at 11. I'm going to leave my house, go get a coffee.
Was that the Michigan State game?
No, are you kidding? Are you kidding? That guy's in so much trouble right now. I mean, the university just saved themselves $80 million over there in Lansing. Lansing just can't stay out of trouble. Now, by the way, to be fair, University of Michigan got themselves in trouble too. But currently,
anyway, you got your coffee.
Yeah, I got my coffee and headed on down and braved the construction. And I made it to the shop about 10:56, and I walked in, and the guy says, "How can I help you today?" And I said, "I'm here for my pre-diagnoses." Now, do you want to take any guesses for the pre-diagnoses?
There was a lot of people saying a lot of things. I'm going to say you had to have things realigned and readjusted. I don't think the bottom bracket was broken. I think it just needed to be realigned and cleaned.
So what we had three things after the gentleman put it up on the rack. I don't think he put them up on the rack, but in the bike stand. It sounds better to put it up on the rack. So what we had was a rear tire that had a pretty massive groove in it that I never really noticed in Iowa. We kept looking to see if there's anything from the noises. And what we're talking about is 500 miles. My bicycle made some awful noises, and it literally started like 20 miles into Ragbrai. And
500 miles of the squeaking duck.
Oh man, all I think about is Shawshank Redemption. Andy Dufresne.
Yeah.
Climb through 500 of the most foul smelling. Okay, anyway, so, but yes, my bike literally, and it would be really weird because if you pedaled on one side of the bike, there would be no noise. If you pedaled on the other side of the bike, there would be noise. If you were coasting down a hill and you had the crank set at one area, there would be no noise. If you had the crank set at the other area, or where your left foot was all the way down, it would be a noise. Right foot all the way down, no noise. And so it was just really weird. I couldn't pinpoint it, and I kept adjusting the brakes, like moving it. And anyway, so took the bike in, and we have three things. The rear tire had a pretty nasty groove in it, meaning it was rubbing against something. So what the gentleman said is, why don't we check out your rear hub? Why don't we see about that? He said, I'm feeling some massive friction here. I think it might be the rear hub. I don't think it's the bottom bracket. And I said, okay. He said, but will you give me permission if we get into it and it is the bottom bracket? And I thought that was a silly question, but that's okay, because I thought to myself, no, I'm just going to let you have it and not fix it. But I decided, okay, this is one of those moments. Just shut your mouth. He's got your bike. And he said, but the gentleman was honest with me and said, he said, like, my mechanic who does all this won't be back till Tuesday. Can we wait till Tuesday? So that was the pre-diagnoses. But now I have the official update, because we are recording this on Tuesday. And on my way home, the mechanic called me, and now I have the official. Do you want to take a guess?
I'm sticking with what I said. I don't think it was enough that your bottom bracket would be completely destroyed. I just really think it needed to be cleaned and adjusted.
Well, I will tell you that the gentleman on my way home today replaced the bottom bracket and said that it was completely toast, to the point where I was one ride away from possibly seizing up, according to him. If it wasn't one ride, it was a couple rides away from seizing up. But you're not wrong about, I just want to be fair about the cleaning and adjusting, because they took the entire rear hub apart, and it was pretty loaded with grime and grease and needed to be cleaned up and adjusted. So it's a little bit of both. It's bottom bracket and rear hub cleaning. But I know that I've gotten some messages behind the scenes on what it was, and apologize for being a slacker and not getting it down fast enough, but Ed had texted me behind the scenes and said, "What is it?" So Ed is finding out right now as he's listening.
Surprise, Ed! You were right. Isn't that what he said it was?
Ed texted me right away and said that he had done a ride, and he said that he actually had a sound clip that he sent me and said that it sounded like this. I said, "Yeah, it was pretty close." So Ed nailed it. So. But yes, so I'm going to have to go pick that up, I think, Saturday morning.
So watch out for that road construction.
Listen, buddy, you're more than welcome to check out the Flex Lane road construction on US 23. I'll even be honest where it is. It's 6 Mile and 23. So go ahead and look, big guy.
I'm just saying, road construction is not an excuse not to take your bike to the shop.
Well,
that's all I'm saying.
I choose to use a bike shop. That's in Ann Arbor. As you know, I live about 20 miles north of 15 minutes, 20 minutes, depending on the day. And sometimes it's not as easy to get back and forth. Like, I'll go there on the weekend. And then, of course, that golf course sure was calling me on the weekend.
You liked priority.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I haven't been like you. I'm pretty proud of you. I'm pretty proud of you. You've got out on some rides and done some rides. So
I have.
I don't know. I assumed based upon giving me as much crap for not.
We're going with exactly what you said. Getting out, doing a lot of riding. So
good job.
Appreciate you acknowledging that.
Well, anyway, so there we go. $250, and my bike is going to be back to what it was. But listen. I'm excited. I have 16, almost 17,000 miles on the bike. It's 10 years old, and this is the second time the bottom bracket's been done. So I'm excited. I think for Kentucky, when we go down, it's going to be great.
Well, I'm excited. I don't have to listen to the squeaking duck.
Or
for
if
miles.
the weather's not good, the bike will sit in the back of the van, and I'll sit underneath the awning of your camper and enjoy myself a bourbon.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. It's win-win either way. Well, some excitement going on here on the show.
All right, I'm listening because I'm waiting. On behalf of Adam
and Michael,
we both want to say thank you
for your support.
About, a couple months ago, we talked to Katie up in Carroll, Iowa. She was on the committee that organized the event coming through their town. They were a stopover town for Ragbrai 50th anniversary. We talked to her, and she gave us kind of a behind the scenes look at what all they were doing. And that I was able to get her back.
That's awesome.
You and I did, in fact, interview her.
We did.
And I am excited to play that interview, because what we thought would be great is, what is the aftermath of 30, 40,000, whatever the number is, people coming through your town of 10,000? How did it turn out? Was it a mess? Was there, did you spend 2 weeks picking up trash and, I don't know, replacing divots and whatever else might have occurred? So.
And the answer is yes. So anyways, next, no, I'm just kidding.
Moving on.
why don't we pipe that up here and we'll bring Katie on now.
Cool.
Hey, Katie, good to be with you again.
Hey guys, thanks.
Hey, good to see you. It's been a few weeks and you look well, so I'm guessing you have survived Ragbrai 50th.
Did you sell enough beer? That's what I want to know. Did you sell enough beer?
There's a lot of things we could talk about, but yeah.
Okay, great.
We didn't sell as much as we thought we would sell, but yes, we sold plenty. So
good.
It worked out well for us.
Was there an after party with the extra, or
there hasn't been yet? Last time they did have one, but we have a Budweiser distributor in town. Oh. And so they did a really awesome job. They had all their guys working in a cold reefer truck right there. So they did a really good job monitoring, okay, we can put this out, and they didn't overload the coolers.
Cool.
They didn't have too much extra, so that was
okay. Well, that's good.
They did a really good job helping with that. Because at the end of the night, you don't want those troughs of ice full of beer.
Yeah,
no,
maybe, but
okay. Well, we answered all the questions. Excellent. No, I'm kidding.
Well, we're kind of sad for all of our listeners and subscribers. When we got to Carol, we did look for someone in a green shirt, and we asked for you. And I think you were at the high school at the time that we were in the main area. And then Pizza Ranch was right behind your booth there. And so wouldn't you know it, air conditioning and pizza and ice water and the buffet kind of won for a little bit. And then when we came back out, it was toasty. So we enjoyed your library there and air conditioning. So
I actually have heard so many people that have gone to the library or went to the library that day and said it was awesome. So, and the librarian had a blast.
Coolest library there. I mean, it's really awesome the way you've got like those big steps where you can kind of set, and it's got the movie screen that they can, it's just beautiful, and it was nice and cool. So that made it even better.
That's what I heard. And so I wasn't expecting that, but that turned out to be a really neat thing to have, especially with the heat. And it kind of just was right there in the grass with the trees. So you had some shade outside, and awesome.
Yeah,
it was fantastic. It was really neat. So tell me, if you don't mind, the expectation of ridership, the riders that you thought that you would see. Was it what you thought you would see?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like when it was really funny. So the way my day went, I started out the morning on Monday at the high school, which is where the main Ragbrai campground was. So at 6 a.m., that's when I started my day. And I would say from 6 to 7, it was like quiet. So I was just getting everything out, set up. And then all of a sudden that first question or support vehicle came in at 7, and it was like nonstop until bedtime. Like wow. It was absolutely crazy, the amount of people in town. And the weird thing is I spent most of my day out at the high school, probably until about 6 or 6:30. And then I headed down to the celebration area, or where the band was. And so I honestly didn't really drive around town and see everything. I get, you see it in pieces and you see the steady flow of bikers, but to truly grasp what the town looked like, I didn't really take in. And my sister was staying here, and she drove around town and took video of all the different places, the parks, where there's just tents galore. And I'm just like, so I got to see that after the fact. And
that's
wow.
Cool.
Well, and I'll say that you're geographically, if anyone doesn't realize, you were on the front end of the route. And so throughout the week, people were dissipating and leaving the ride. And so you were still in the very hot thick of things, where it was still a very massive cycle load, in my opinion. So,
I mean, yeah, you would think that there would be a break of some sort, where maybe just there would be no cyclists coming. And that was not the case. There might be a break where there was like maybe, there's only 2 or 3 coming in the next 30 seconds. But then it was another wave of 15 to 20. It was just solid. I was blown away. Really.
So Michael, I have to give the credit to Michael. He had said, we really need to catch back up with Katie and see, we've obviously talked to people before the ride, and then we do the ride, and then people just go, okay, Ragbrai 50's over. And it was kind of really neat because even today, Ragbrai put out an email that said, relive your Ragbrai 50 experience, share your picture. So talking to you today is just really awesome, in my opinion, because here we are asking, and kudos to you again, Michael. I mean, after everyone's left, normally the cyclists clean up after themselves. I mean, did you have a big old mess or?
No, it was
That's
amazing.
awesome.
And
Good.
I can say this is the first Ragbrai I've been part of, like the planning committee or doing anything on that end. My day Tuesday started at 5 a.m. I got out to the high school, and all I could see was little headlamps, and hear the zippers of the tents. And it was a steady stream of people leaving. And by 9:30 or 10, I mean, it was a ghost town. The garbage was either all picked up or it was all in at least bags and piles right by the cans that were coming to be picked up. The signs were down. I mean, I think at 11 o'clock I went and ate lunch, and people are like, you wouldn't know anything happened here last night. You wouldn't. It was
That's
so
amazing.
because I thought, you spend 7 months preparing the weeks before setting up, and then, it's done. July 26th at 11 o'clock. It was amazing. The riders are so respectful. Yeah, there's just no sign of it even being here.
That's
awesome. Cool, because we've often talked on many different rides about, we look at ourselves as trying to be very conscientious of going through these towns, and cleaning up after ourselves and picking up after ourselves. And most of the time, we see that happening, but we've always wondered, is that really happening? Or when we leave, are we just oblivious and there's just trash everywhere that we didn't even see? So I'm glad to hear that we're cleaning up after ourselves when we come through your towns and aren't trashing them or anything like that.
That's awesome.
From the north end of town to the south end, it was very simple. It was picked up. If the garbages were full, like I said, the garbage was set next to the can. It wasn't garbage all around like the main campground that we'd have to go pick up piece by piece. It was very clean. So
that's awesome.
Very good.
So we know that Ragbrai presented, I believe, a check of 20 grand or 20.
Yeah, a little over 20,000.
A little over 20,000.
Yeah. Cool.
And so is that money earmarked for a special project or just to help out just in general?
So with the community fund, we knew that they were going to make a donation this whole time. We didn't know how much. We knew it was up to our planning committee to decide which organization or organizations we wanted that to go to in our town. And we honestly had a pretty easy time deciding. Both schools. We asked a lot of throughout the process, the main campground being at the Carroll High School and Middle School. Pork Belly Ventures utilized Fairview and Elementary School. We actually have two schools in our town. We have a public school and a Catholic school. And so then we have St. Lawrence, they served a meal. Kemper, their field house hosted a team. Their high school hosted a team. They had food and showers. And so we felt right off the bat, the two school districts were going to split. And then the last group that we kind of just thought about tail end, and I don't know why, but was the American Legion, or Town American Legion.
Oh, nice.
So those three organizations, all of them do a lot for our community all year round. And so that's how we landed on those three. So we split it three ways.
Did the owner of the Culvers, did he survive the weekend? I mean, because there was the big the sunshades there, and then people would go into Culvers for a little bit to get maybe some custard or whatever. And we walked in one time. Our buddy wanted a custard or ice cream or whatever, and the line was like a U shape around the back of the building. And I was like, I hope that guy made it alive out for the day.
Yeah, he was ground zero.
I know. And the funny thing is, every time I would see him leading up to the event, I always joked him, like, have you decided yet? Are you locking your doors and just keeping the drive-thru open? Or are you gonna unlock and let people in? He's like, I don't know. I got to decide. And I was like, I know what you'd want to do, obviously from an ease standpoint, but he's like, I just can't do that to people. He's an awesome guy.
That's awesome. No,
he was excited, graciously said, Because, we asked him to close off that parking lot at noon that day. And obviously he had a pretty good idea the day was going to turn out okay for him. He was ready and willing. He was excited to help. So he's a really good guy.
That's cool. I mean,
and he gives back to the community a lot too. So that's fun to be able to help a business that really invests back in the town as well. So
that's awesome.
That's a good fit.
Awesome.
One of the things that go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, our charter was actually out at one of the other parks. I don't remember what the name of the park was. I believe it was on the east side of
Northeast Park.
Northeast Park.
Yeah.
So I was going to come and try to find you guys, but I ran out of time too.
That's all right.
I had it on my radar.
Well,
you were a little busy.
We figured you had something else to do, so that's okay.
It was. I'm like, if I could get there.
So. But no, I was like, the baseball diamond you have out there
at Northeast Park.
It's incredible. I was like, wow, you had really nice park facilities. I've got to say that. Yes. Fantastic. I mean, it had that artificial, I don't know what it's called. That's pretty new. It's called Miracle Field, and it's a new all-inclusive playground. So all the playground equipment, and then the field can, so if there's kids in wheelchairs, nice,
different needs, that's what that's for. So that just, again, we had a family in town raise a ton of money and just build that. So it's really nice and really.
That was one of the best pictures I took of all Ragbrai was from that park, because where we were there, there was a huge cornfield behind the park, and we left about 5:45. That was a Century Day. Yeah, it was a Century.
It was Century Day.
Yes, it was. Yep. And then the sun came above the corn just at the right area, and it was like the iridescent orange, beautiful photograph in the morning. There was also a morning where, because it was a Century and everybody was panicked, I got to get on the road, they left all of their luggage outside our charter semi-truck. And I have a picture of that too. It's like, picture a semi-truck and then picture like 8 rows deep of semi-trucks worth of baggage. And so I thought that was just one of those pictures. But we highly enjoyed ourselves. One of the things that I was really surprised at is the layout that you guys had, in my opinion, was great. You had a long distance layout where people could just keep wandering down different areas.
To clarify, this was the layout of your celebration area.
Yeah. That was something, we debated back and forth too. Where do you go? What do you do? There's not a lot of shade in that area. And then again, with the numbers, not knowing exactly how many riders we were going to have, the last time it came through, our vendors didn't do well because they were off. And then the beer garden was over in it was right there, but you couldn't get a beer and go eat your food. Where this one, you could have beer, you could walk and kind of explore all the vendors and see the different things. So I'm glad to hear you like that, because it seemed really neat. Again, I didn't even get a walk down to the vendor row because it was so busy. I ended up staying over by the info booth, but it looked really cool.
Yeah, it was probably one of the best layouts.
Good.
As far as Ragbrai went, as far as I'm concerned, Adam might have a different opinion, but it flowed. A lot of towns, were limited on space and tried to like jam it into a small area. So, it's just bumper to bumper people, and the lines are going out into the crowd flows. But the way you guys had it spread out, I think it was fantastic.
Wonderful.
And no, I would agree, because while Storm Lake did a great job, if you remember when we went through the vendor area of Storm Lake, we were arm in arm knocking into different people trying to get through the crowd, and where you had it, it was wide open. As a matter of fact, I know there's probably somebody put forgive me, I'm just going to be honest here. I'm sure someone put a lot of time into a map and everything. Well, I was just kind of wandering, and I kept looking. I go, oh, look at that. It keeps going. Let's go over there. And truthfully, that's how we found your library. And because it was an extremely warm evening, I'm like, hey, let's just see about the library. We walked in there, and I guess when there's not Ragbrai, there's a projector inside there. And then just to give someone an idea what we're talking about, picture a set of stairs, but built at like 5 times the size. And so there's just big, massive, like stair steps, building blocks up, and so you could just kind of sit and lay and watch a movie. I'm sure if Ragbrai wouldn't have been there, and so there we were laying down a little bit, sitting back, and all of a sudden, this is what we heard: in 5 minutes, the library closes, and we were like, "No, that's not good."
No.
So then, truth be told, we visited your Walgreens and picked up some cold beverages like Gatorade because we were, extremely warm, and then headed back to the park for a libation when we got back to the.
Well, that's perfect. No, I have to ask, did you get to
the distillery?
Yes.
No, actually, we had met somebody in a green shirt because you had told us those were, the people to help.
The people to go to.
And she looked at us and said, I don't even think it's open. We think it's closed. And I was like, oh, okay. And so we had heard it was like, forgive me, but from where your location was downtown, or that it was across the street from Culver's, maybe 2 streets down, and then like go 4 or 5 blocks down. And they had told us that it was closed, to be honest. So.
Oh no, he was out. He had a tent out front, and
man,
stone's throw from Walgreens.
Looking at we were right there.
You were
right there, man. I hate to say it.
Well, we just
I don't know
trusted.
What time that was. Maybe he was done.
Maybe.
That, but I think he had a really fun day. So next time.
We should have double checked our information. Oh well,
man.
That's okay.
That's okay. Normally they are closed on Mondays, and I'm sure that's why that.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
So one of the biggest questions I had was, how did the table auction go?
Not great.
No,
but you know what? We got a lot of compliments on it. People loved them, but I think, how do you get them?
That's
you need them to be with
the logistics of
that's
the whole
okay
thing.
Because they all got sold.
Good.
So that's a good thing. We thought maybe they would bring in a little more, but with everything, we're very close to having all of our bills in, and we still came out ahead, making a profit. So, yeah.
Are you glad you joined the committee?
What committee?
Well, the committee for Ragbrai. Are you glad that you?
Yes. I'm glad I joined the committee. Yes.
Yeah. You would. For anyone who doesn't know, we in an earlier show we were able to interview Katie, and you kind of just signed up for like, to see what this is all about. Are you glad that you made that first move for that first meeting till today? Or
I mean, there was a month or 6 weeks in there that I thought, well, my husband helped encourage me. Told you not to do it. Yeah, I'm like, I know, I'm crazy. It was a lot at times, but honestly, it was so fun. And I find myself, I haven't thought about it for a while, but reflecting back and thinking, okay, next time we'll do this. Next time this. And everyone on the committee's like, no, next time you'll do it. A couple of the people this was their second go around. And they're like, this is on you next time. But yeah, I think, looking, the last time they hosted was 2011, did I say, in Carroll? So it'd been where in my mind, I'm like, well, now it's easy. Like, bring it back next year. I know exactly what we need to do. You kind of just have that method, and even if 5 years pass, things change. A lot changed from 2011 to 2023. Technology, just the world we live in. I think in the next 5 years to 10 years, hopefully we'll get it again, and it'll be easier.
Well, make sure you write all those ideas down, because you'll remember them. But 5-10 years down the road, you'll be like, oh, I had all these great ideas, and I don't remember.
No, I don't remember them.
Yeah. I was surprised my phone worked almost the entire time we were there. I did not have, I had told my wife before leaving, I'll do my best to stay in touch with you. My phone worked. I mean, more often than not, my phone worked. So there was just a few times where, in different towns, not in Carroll per se, but just in different towns. I mean, of course, Des Moines is a major city, and we were in Ames, major city. We expected that, but there were just a few times when we got to east of Des Moines. A couple times where just lost it for just a little bit, but I was surprised. I mean, it was much better than I thought. So
yeah, I would say day of, there was just a few times where I couldn't send a text message, but it was for a brief period. So yeah, that really surprised me. I pleasantly surprised with that for sure.
Hey, Adam, I need a Coke.
Sounds good. We'll be back after a quick break. So you started your day at 5 a.m. Here's a question I have. Did you make it to the pork tornadoes?
I was at the pork tornadoes. I did make
you
it
were?
to the tornadoes,
Okay.
Yeah. So, and this is the other thing that was crazy, which Ragbrai Matt, everybody calls him Ragbrai Matt. You know, he got on stage at intermission, and I had talked to him before intermission of the pork tornadoes, and he's like, I am giving everybody a stern warning. He's like, the heat, the headwinds, like we need riders to behave and to get on the road, because it was a big day, Tuesday.
Oh yeah.
Gonna be hot. And riders listened.
Really?
I mean, a lot of them left at intermission, honestly. And by, let's see, I think they finished at 10, 15, 10:30. I'm trying to think. And our shuttles were, everyone was cleared out of there and done. I mean, right on there. And I think we spent an hour cleaning up, and I was home at 11:45. So
there you go. There's our.
Hey, there you go.
there's Ragbrai Matt. That's our man.
There we go.
You have Ragbrai Ann too. Did you guys know Ann?
Yeah, Ann was wonderful to us. That night we actually felt like celebrities. So here's what happened: we were at the route announcement party, as I'm sure people from your town were. And
it was a snowstorm, though. Remember, everyone? We had a couple.
Not only was it a snowstorm, but holy macaroni, was it cold. And so Ann said, hey, this is where I want you to come, and this is when we can do the interview, and this time. And if you want to say one time in my life where I felt like a little bit of a celebrity, I'm like, oh my gosh, we got this interview. And we went back to the hotel. We were excited and made it over there and did the interview. And then believe it or not, I edited the interview while Michael was driving back to his hometown, sitting next to him. I have my headphones on and I'm interviewing. By that night, we had the interview up. And so it was like my one celebrity, like, woohoo, my cycling celebrity story. So we were pretty excited about that. So
well, those two are amazing. And
oh yeah,
they came through and followed up with us last Tuesday or 2 weeks ago now. My weeks get mixed up, but just the amount of thought and foresight that they have of where this ride is now, you know. And they said, obviously the 50th was the 50th. It's big. There was a huge turnout. What to expect going forward, you know, they're just kind of thinking through things and how do we keep it growing yet manageable. And they just are so in tune and in touch and have great ideas of how to keep this going, to make it easier on communities, take some burden off of our end. Like this year they did the concert series they took care of all of that financially and setting that up. And so they have other really good ideas of how to ease some of that on our end. So I really look forward for things to come with them. And I think those two do a wonderful job. So
And I agree with you. And here's what I would like to say. So, of course, the Ragbrai 50, I think what you had is a lot of people who had never been on something like this before. Their friends are like, this is the 50th anniversary. We're going to just go do this cool thing. And I think a lot of people had shell shock, like, oh, my gosh. The first couple of hills, they were probably like, what am I doing out here when it's 90 degrees outside and I'm baking out here on the tarmac, so to speak. So my question will be, is moving forward, this is not just to Katie, but to anybody who ever thinks about doing Ragbrai again, what happens at Ragbrai 51, 52, 53, et cetera, et cetera? Obviously, the popularity of the 50 is not as much. Does the popularity obviously go down? Does it go to pre-COVID numbers, like, the 10,000? Do they go back to the lottery? These are questions that I kind of go back to myself. Is I'm sure from a standpoint of selling, it's easier on November 15th or whatever to open it up and let people just sign up, because then you get those guaranteed people who sign up. So I'll be curious to see that in the future, what happens, honestly. So
yeah. And then that's one thing we actually brought up too in our meeting with them, is like, so how do you do this? How do you know? Do you cut it off? Because I'm looking at it from our town's perspective. We could handle it. Was it a stretch for different things? Yes. But if you put this size of a ride in a smaller town, you're struggling. I mean, I don't know how much of a smaller of a town could handle that. And so, I talk about, do you set a limit? And they're like, well, we could, but if people really want to go on the ride, they're going to go no matter what.
True.
So if you don't set that limit, you let people sign up, you're able to add amenities, provide more, SAG, and get a better idea of who is coming on this ride. So that's one thing we talked about. So I don't think they'll limit it, but who knows? Like you said, 50 was 50.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know that throughout the week, I promise you this, as a gentleman who rode all week long, the first day was some of the most insane amount of cyclists, whatever. I mean, wheelie bars, unicyclists, whatever, that I'd ever seen anywhere at any time in my life. And throughout the week, you could physically see a diminishing number of people either quitting early. And of course, I felt really bad for Coralville. I mean, the horrible, horrible, horrible storm where the tornado sirens are going off. And we actually got really, really lucky that night. We came in and we came to where our charter had picked to camp, or whoever picks it, I don't know, but somebody had picked it to be there. And we were in between like this apartment complex, like in the middle of this, like they called it green space, and just like a dirt field with very little grass. And I was looking at Michael, and Michael was looking at me, and our other buddy had already set up his tent. He's a big, stronger rider than we are. But we also like to enjoy the whole ride. So we stop and take pictures and take everything. And so here we were. I'm like, oh my gosh, this would be a great night to have a hotel. And so we're all looking at each other, and Michael goes to Expedia. Sorry, I'm going to slam Expedia here, but I'm just going to be honest here. Goes to Expedia, and he finds a hotel, and he says, guys, do we want to do this? Everybody's in. Yeah. We got Venmo. We're in. So he books the hotel. We throw all of our stuff onto the truck, the charter truck. Yep. My buddy Joe packs up his tent, packs up everything, and then we take our bikes and we ride it to this hotel that Expedia said that was available. We get into the lobby, the storm is coming, and the guy at the hotel, the gentleman behind the counter, says, "I'm so sorry, we don't have any rooms available," or woman or whatever, but we don't have any rooms available. So now the storm is coming, and all of our stuff's in the truck. And now we have our bikes and our backpacks on our back with one change of clothes for the next morning. And there's this guy in the lobby. And he goes, "Are you guys really looking for a room?" And we're like, "Yeah, actually we are." And he's like, "Well, I actually have one on the other side of town," which was by the Longhorn Steakhouse and everything else. And we're like, "Okay, great." And so at first he said, and it was a little bit nerve-wracking because the storm is coming, remember? Yeah. He says, it's about 15 miles away or 15 minutes away or something like that. And so I'm looking while Michael is making the deal happen. I'm looking on my phone. I'm like, it's 3 miles away. We're cyclists. That's not 15 minutes. I don't know how he rides his bike, but I know how I ride mine. And especially if a storm is coming,
we're not that slow.
We can get there.
Yeah. That's right. So long story short, we ended up getting something I'd never even heard of, which was like, I think a Days In Plus or something like that. And I'm like, whatever it is, let's go. And within about 8 minutes, we're there. And so we're like, you know what? We're going to go eat something. So why don't we all take showers? And so we take turns taking showers. We no longer get to the lobby. We're like, okay, let's go eat. And the doors open up. So we ended up making it to the Longhorn, but we got lucky that night. But point is, I felt bad for Coralville. I mean, first of all, band couldn't play, and I'm not sure. I've heard so many stories now from my friends where tents were being flown and broken, and our good friend had to sleep. Walter, he had to sleep inside of the gymnasium, and so because his tent was MIA, But,
and it happened early enough in the evenings that everybody had to go over to like the storm shelters and that type of thing. So a lot of people still hadn't eaten yet because they were going to eat when they go over and listen to the concert. And so, we lucked out.
Yeah, we did. We got lucky.
You do feel bad for Coralville, because if that happened to us, again, you think all that planning, everything that they did and the effort and energy they put in. And then it's like, well, sorry, everybody's got to go in and take shelter, and you don't sell the beer and you don't have all the fun. So that does stink for them.
Party's closed. Everybody go home.
Yep. Yep. So,
but on a bigger piece, everybody was safe. So that's good. It could have been a lot worse. So
Matt did say in our wrap-up meeting, he goes, if there was one town that I knew could handle it and be ready for it, he said it's Coralville, because they've hosted it quite a bit. He's like, they know what they're doing. And so he goes, we work so hard, and it's part of our planning, and every town's planning is what is the emergency storm protocol, and everybody's got it in place. But he's like, Matt, and he's like, in my short time doing it, I've never had to see it actually operate. And he goes, they did it right. So
good.
Well, in 2018, we did have to evacuate our tents. So, we've been on that end where, it's, they're coming around and made us go. I don't remember what town it was, but we had to go to a facility or storm shelter. So it happens.
Was a electric company building, and they opened they were phenomenal. They opened their offices for us, and we got in there, and I remember we were playing Hangman on the
big whiteboard.
On the whiteboard. Yeah, well, that's
those make good memories.
That's right.
Oh, absolutely.
That's right. Well, from my standpoint, I personally thank you for, spending a little bit of your time telling us a little bit aftermath, and so it sounds like you'd do it again, but you like a little gap, a little bit. So.
A little break, yeah. Break.
Well, it's good, because I had talked to Adam, and I was like, I just have this vision that, the day after, there's like 50 townspeople and this big, mound of trash, and they're out there with snow shovels loading it into dumpsters and things like that. So I'm glad to hear that everything is not that way. So that's awesome.
No, it's a huge, I will say it's a huge relief. You can take a deep breath and be like, hey, we did this. And I will say the riders, super appreciative, super grateful, complimentary. The people from our town, if they weren't on the planning committee, overall, the feedback was really positive. And, that's always good to hear too, because we're trying to put on something that we think will be good and represent our town well. And so that was really nice to hear that people were proud of how it turned out, and they thought it went well. So
I'm one of the cajillion billion riders, and let me tell you, I was impressed. Everything looked awesome to me. So,
well, thank you so much. That's awesome.
Yeah, we definitely thank you for coming back on the show and giving us kind of a wrap up. Definitely gives us the full perspective of what it's like to be a host town, both the planning and then the aftermath. So I'm glad it's all worked out well, and hopefully you have a couple of years before you have to do this whole thing again.
Maybe next year I can ride.
There you go.
There you go.
It'll be a lot easier to find me when we'll have more of the same goals in mind.
That's right.
If I ride, finding that distillery would be at the top of my list.
I guess I do have one curiosity question, because when we first met you, you were gracious enough to share holding up the Ragbrai Bible per se. And my question is, did you have to turn that back in, or is that something that you got to keep?
Oh, no.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, she's got it on her office shelf here.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Oh boy.
It's there.
Oh yes. Nice. Look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, I see it myself. So that's awesome. Oh yeah, the Ragbrai beer. I love it.
Ragbrai beer.
Love it. I love it.
And then
big wave.
Matt and Ann actually gave us a little appreciation gift.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
They gave all of us on the overnight committees kind of a paperweight. They said, put it on your desk, and anytime you think you can't do something because it's hard, look at that, and
a little inspiration.
You can, because what we just pulled off was awesome. So
now I have a confession. I have one of those now too. And what had happened was when the riders finished, if you waited in the regular line for the tire dip, which I did not, but if you waited in the regular line, they were passing those out. We didn't know they were passing those out until we were driving home. And Michael went to Kansas, and my friend Joe and I came to Michigan, and Joe's like, "Oh man, we missed out on this," and he showed me. Well, just recently they emailed us all and said if you want to buy one, you just had to pay for shipping. And so I said, "Well, you know what? I wanted the whole 50th experience, so $5. I have one too, but I did not work as hard as you did by putting on."
I don't know, because I would disagree, because I went to Des Moines to Waterworks Park. I sent a set of keys in the Lost and Found, and the Lost and Found travels with the ride.
Okay.
The guy from Carroll was looking for his keys. I'm like, I know where they are.
Okay.
It's like they're in the Lost and Found, but now they're in Des Moines. Well, I went down to Waterworks Park, so it was 2 days later, and the heat was oppressive.
That was a rough day.
I do not know how volunteers did it. I don't know how riders did it. I mean, you guys did the hard work, so that ride, it was crazy. But I went outside, I was just sweating in minutes. So
the one day, I mean, just being truthful with you, the one day that I just remember was Michael was at like Thursday or Friday or whatever. Thursday. Oh my gosh. 90 miles. I mean, just coming into town, I mean, I had zero energy, and the heat was just coming from behind you on your back. And it was just like, oh my gosh. And then, you know, you think about it now, I'm like, oh, well, I'm home. I'm fine now. But at the time, it seemed like the worst thing ever. So
no, I cannot imagine. That just was, like I said, oppressive.
Well,
you know, that we didn't have that in Carroll, thankfully. Nope. You know, it was not that hot.
I remember you saying to me that we're going to have a recovery ride coming into Carroll. I remember the first time you and I talked about that, and sure enough, that was a beautiful day of riding. So it was fun coming in. We got in early. We got to enjoy Carroll. We got to. A matter of fact, I'd like to say we were some of the first people to actually eat at that pizza ranch. We came into town on the shuttle bus, and there was hardly nobody there. And then as we were sitting in the back of Pizza Ranch, enjoying the air conditioning and ice water and repeatedly ice of water, and all of a sudden, then like it started to fill up. We're like, okay, it's time to get out of here. And
we're seeing this too.
When we walked outside, we were like, whoa, where did everybody come from? You know, so.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy how it just shows. It just all of a sudden there it is. So
yeah. Well, cool. I'm so thankful. I really am. I know I said it, but I really mean on behalf of Michael and myself. You know, we do this show for fun. We enjoy it, and we really have never talked to somebody and saw Ragbrai from the beginning stages. You know, how you were chosen, and then put the committee together, and then the actual ride, and then talking to someone afterwards. So from me, and on behalf of Michael and I just want to say thank you so much. So
same to you guys. I actually, somebody's like, oh, I said I have to go do a podcast tonight, and they're like, Ragbrai stuff, aren't you done with that? I was like, no, this is actually really fun. I was like,
good.
I'm gonna do a podcast. And
good. I'm glad you feel that way, because sometimes, you know, people say, oh, you know, yeah, I'll be on your show or whatever. But this is fun for us, and I'm glad that you are. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me. So I do hope we get to meet in person someday and have a drink. So
I would love it.
Ragbrai, you better be texting me.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Well, what else we got, Adam?
That's it. Well, that was really cool. You know, and I got to tell you, I'm not surprised that the cyclist kept everything clean. I'm really not. I mean, you and I do these things a lot. Everyone we see, no matter what, when they're packing up, they're picking up all their garbage, throwing it away. So great to have her on again. That was really fun.
Well, you know, I always thought that, like I said in the interview with her, I always thought that cyclists were very respective of that type of thing and worked hard to do it. But then I've never been in a town after Ragbrai's been through to like really verify that was correct. So I'm glad to hear we're not trashing up people's towns.
Couple things I'll say. The fact that she was having lunch at 11 o'clock the next day and you could never tell that Ragbrai had been there minus some signage, it just amazes me. I mean,
oh yeah.
I mean, okay, think about you and I as writers, or any of our subscribers or followers that are writers. I mean, you spent weeks getting all your stuff ready and putting stuff in however you pack and however you do your things and figuring out your family plans. Like you have children, so you got to make sure that, hey, you can't leave your daughter in a closet. So you're set. I mean,
Wait a minute, I can't.
Well, listen, you do you, buddy, but I don't recommend that by any way, any fashion or form. And your daughter's so independent now that she's gonna not only, I think she'll flip the closet upside down. So,
yeah,
but
pretty much.
but there's all kinds of things you had to plan. You and your wife figuring out childcare, and I mean, just the amount of things that you got to put together for Ragbrai. And then the next day she's having lunch, like, hey, everybody's gone. So it's just amazing.
It was incredible.
Hey, Michael, I need a coffee.
Okay, we'll be back right after this message.
Well, I think that for us, that puts Ragbrai in the books. We've got the pre-planning, we've got the route announcement. We've got the route announcement, we've got the pre-planning. We interviewed Matt about it. We actually interviewed Katie before we did the ride. We got to talk to someone from an area that Ragbrai went after the ride. I think that does Ragbrai close.
We can close the books. Boom.
All right. Boom. Closed.
Excellent.
Speaking of closed, I'm going to bring up something a little bit sad here for a minute. I thought about you the other day.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. We're going to talk about something sad. I thought about Michael the other day.
I did.
Horrible.
I did.
Horrible.
I mean, people don't know that we have a playlist that we kind of share. We call it the Cycling Men of Leisure playlist. Just songs that we enjoy when we're hanging out. And many of those songs are Jimmy Buffett songs. So, and your love of Jimmy Buffett and of course, I obviously enjoy the music as well. Jimmy Buffett's performed with a numerous slew of thousands of people, or whatever, hundreds of people at least. And so when he passed, I thought about you, and I just want to say, fins up to
Jimmy. He's one of those people for me that, you have a singer or songwriter or two or three that kind of create this album of your youth, and that, well, Jimmy Buffett was kind of that person for me that kind of created my musical album, so to speak, of my younger years. And it was really, really sad to see him or hear about him departing, but his music will live on. So,
I mean, think of the empire that this guy built, because he's like, I don't want to work. I'll just play some music. And I mean, he's got restaurants, timeshares, cruises, resorts, senior living areas. I don't know what you call it right now.
He's got beer.
Yeah, Landshark beer, and I mean
tequila,
everything. I mean, so and we always think about him because Lauren and I, as you know, have the timeshare in Florida, and so go to Universal a lot. My wife is a Harry Potter fan, and we like to go to Universal, and as well as Disney. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, every time you pass, you got the plane on one side, and I always have to tell my wife the same story. That I'm like, that is actually Jimmy Buffett's actual plane. That was one of his planes, and every time she's like, "Was it really? It looks like it's not real." I'm like, "It's a real plane." So,
he came a long way. I mean, he created a fantastic empire.
Yeah,
and it's really impressive because they did an interview with him for a few years back, and early in his career. He kind of went through a countryish phase that didn't really work out, and then he moved on. Early in his career, when he was making the video Come Monday, he found somebody to shoot it, didn't have any money. They needed a pickup truck for the some of the video, and all he had was like this $200 old, Sanford and Son style, pickup truck. And so they used his old beat up pickup truck in the video because he couldn't afford to rent a better one for the video.
Right.
And, when he passed, he could probably buy several dozen dealerships.
I was going to say, yeah. So while watching some of the footage, and where I thought that, yes, I brought up something sad, and I'm sorry for that, but while watching some of the footage, I saw some of the last few images they have of him outside. The man is covered head to toe with sun protection, including gloves, including arm, legs, sun. I mean, everything. I mean, just 100% protected. And it got me reading about, after battling skin cancer for years before his death, Margaritaville singer Jimmy Buffett died 76 from Merkel cell cancer. A statement on his website revealed Merkel cell carcinoma is a rare but aggressive form of skin cancer, according to the Skin Cancer Foundation. So that's CBS News quoted that. But so it got me thinking about what we like to do, which is cycling and being out in the sun, and thinking about how I choose to wear sun arms and sun legs.
Is this going to be another pushing me to get a Debrim?
Listen, I mean, I have a Debrim, and if you want to be cool, I mean, you go to Debrim.com. That's DABRIMM.com, and you get yourself one. Make sure it's fluorescent yellow. That is the official Cycling Men of Leisure color of Debrim, which is fluorescent yellow. You can be seen miles away. I mean, listen. Now, unlike this year, Ragbrai, other years you've been able to find me. This year, everybody had a Debrim. So
yeah, bright yellow Debrim.
Bright yellow Debrim. And I saw on the expo day how many Debrims were being sold. I'm like, we're in one Debrim nation, baby. We are here. So no,
I tease you about the Debrim, but there's a very important reason. Number one, the sun protection. But there's a very interesting story about why you wear that Debrim.
Sure. I'll tell the story. So 2016, as we just talked about planning for Ragbrai, part of my planning was I had this brainiac idea. Never shaved my head before, except for military school a little bit, but never shaved my head down to the level of this shaving my head. But for some reason, I think, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to shave my head so I won't have as much hair and I'll stay cooler. Yeah,
that's a brilliant idea.
Oh yeah, it's brilliant. All right, I think chalk that up for him, the big dummy, because
you look like you had been attacked by a wolverine or a bear when it was over.
It was just stupid. I mean, talk about Sanford and Son, you big dummy. Literally, my helmet had these 3 or maybe I think it was 5 gaps, but 3 of them were definitely pointing straight up to the sun of air, airflow ventilation to get through ventage. I don't think that's a word, but ventilation to get through the top of my head. Well, it also meant that Mr. Sun, hello, I'm Mr. Sun, and I'm going to come burn you. Literally by the end of the week, I literally look. If you look at what Michigan Wolverine helmet looks like, yep, that's what the top of my head looked like.
Looks like something had just grabbed you and just with its claws and it just pulled back.
But it's more than that. I have skin. I have more freckles than anyone I know. I can't mow the lawn without coming in and saying, "Hey, I got more freckles." So, yes, I have been a Debrim wearer since Ragbrai 2016. I got burnt so bad, not just on my head, on my legs and my arms. It was since that day that I have rarely been seen riding a bike without sun arms, sun legs, Debrim.
I've ridden many miles with you since 2016, hundreds. Probably thousands. Yep. I've never seen you after 2016 without being protected. So
I was so miserable. I literally coming home, I never thought I would do something like that again. Now, of course, now I've done 10% of the Ragbrais, but but at the point, I never thought I'd come back. But the one thing I always forget, I hate to admit this, and usually the first week of August, I'm walking around Michigan going, hey, my lips are peeling. I never put on lip balm. I packed it. I bought it. I've gone to the Ragbrai checklist and put it in my fanny pack or whatever. And I don't know, we get into town and we get something to drink and okay, let's go. Come on, let's go. And then like day 5 of the brim, the brim only goes from like the sun down to the brim. The brim down to the ground, the sun bounces off the old 1973 stamped concrete. Because let me tell you, in Iowa, they love to stamp their concrete when they report it. In Michigan, we're like, yeah, good luck, buddy, because we ain't bringing it back. We're not putting a date on it. So, but it'll bounce off the concrete, and of course, I pay the price. So,
that's interesting because as long as we've been riding, I mean, occasionally I'll forget to put sunscreen on my face or whatever. And I know you wear, you wear the debrim, you wear the arm sleeves, you wear the leg sleeves, that type of thing. I don't do a debrim, but I do a skull cap because, I don't want to try to put sunscreen in my hair. So, that's important that you do it. But the other thing that's important, and I don't think a lot of people look at it, is when they're buying these sleeves, are they just sleeves or do they have some kind of protection in them? And I'm talking UPF protection.
Yeah, I think the answer to your question is probably both. I mean, sometimes when you buy, if you were a fisherman, like, sports fisherman, you go to the store and you see right on there, or you go to a water park, you'll see that it'll say like 50 SPF or 50 UVF or whatever right on there. Amazon, or the Jeff Bezos space company, as I like to call it, sometimes when you buy the sun arms, clearly it really reads right there 50 SPF or 60 SPF or whatever, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't say anything, but
but that's important.
Yeah, it is.
Because the UPF, for people who don't know, UPF protection is ultraviolet protection factor. And what that does is it just gives you a percentage, and that percentage will basically tell you the amount of radiation that's reaching your skin. So it helps block out that radiation. So it's important. And the other problem that comes in, and, is that is typically going to cost a little bit more money.
Sure.
And, I look at myself, 10, 15 years ago, $10, $15, I probably would be like, I'll just get the cheap thing, that kind of stuff. Nowadays, I'm like, I look out for these kind of things. But I think it's important that when you're buying this stuff, it's like anything else in cycling, spend a little bit more money, get that extra protection. And I did find some interesting things about different things in cycling clothing that affect the UPF factor. And I thought I'd share those with you if you're interested.
I am interested.
Okay. First one is color. Darker and brighter, it's going to be better UPF protection. Browns, blacks, blues, and reds are really the best because they absorb that ultraviolet rays better.
And I think most people, when they think about that, they're like, black? I'm not wearing a black something outside. But actually, I do have sun arms that are black. And truthfully, when you're riding with them, if you're listening to this and you really enjoy riding and you're like, yeah, I've always thought about that, but I think they'd be restricting. You don't even know they're there.
Yeah.
You just don't.
And I've started wearing them. You've probably noticed I didn't used to wear them. Yep. Generally in the morning, if it's a little chilly, I tend to think it's freezing. I've started wearing them, and then for that purpose, and then I just got to the point where I just leave them on for most of the day, because the other thing is if it's really hot that day, you can wet them down and it helps, kind of lower that core temperature for a longer period of time. The second thing is fit. And if you really think about this one, it makes sense. Looser threads offer better protection. Typically in cycling, a lot of people like to have the really tight stuff. Well, all that's doing is stretching the fibers of the fabric, which causes the sun to be able to penetrate it better. So a little bit looser is better.
I definitely agree on the fit, and I'll tell you why. You and I usually try to work with, in this case, we went to Ragbrai with Joe, and we usually try to work together on, hey, what are we going to wear jersey-wise, And sometimes we've done like the Cycling Men of Leisure jersey. Sometimes we've done, rides we've done before. Anyways, the point is, we decided this year on the Military Appreciation Day that we really thought that the 2018 Eagle jersey, Screaming Eagle, was appropriate. And that jersey has short arms. And so on that jersey, for me at least, that has short arms. I don't know, maybe I don't know. Maybe just for me it was short.
It's got short arms.
But the point is I tried to pull my arm sleeves up so that area between the bottom of my arm wouldn't be exposed to the sun as I was riding my bike and have my hand on the horns and stuff. And so I decided I want to pull that arm sleeve up all day long. I kept making sure, and it was really tight. Well, not only did I leave a little spot open, but it ended up actually giving me like a little wear blister. And so I think you're right. I think the size and wearing the right size of something is extremely important. So,
and the third thing you really got to look for is the fabric. Fabric does make a huge difference. More dense and tightly manufactured threads actually create a better protection. So basically synthetics and semi-synthetic fibers, that's going to be things like your polyester, your Lycra, your Cool Max are all going to be really good choices for that. Obviously, stay away from the cottons. The cottons are the worst. Don't, you know.
I'm telling the cotton people would not appreciate you saying that.
I apologize to the cotton, the
fabric of our life.
Yeah, exactly. Fabric of whatever their organization is that promotes cotton. Those are great to wear when you're hanging out or whatever, but for performance wise, cotton is not the way to go. So, wear the sunscreen, wear the lip balm, get glasses, make sure they provide that UV protection. And the other final thing I'll leave you with is when you're putting on the sunscreen, and I see people do this all the time, they, generally are standing up, they put on sunscreen, and then, they might go right under the edge of their shorts, and then they sit down and their bicycle shorts go 2 inches higher.
Yeah.
And so they have a tan, but then they've got this 1.5 inches of burned leg because their shorts came up higher than where they applied the sunscreen.
Hey, that is a good look. I mean, you got the I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So, in honor of Jimmy Buffett and all of that, we don't want anybody to get skin cancer. So we're just giving you some things to keep in mind when you're buying some new cycling gear. So what I just heard you say was, in honor of Jimmy Buffett, you're going to buy a DeBrim.
No,
that's exactly what I heard. Yes, that's what I heard. Yeah, www.debrim.com, DABRIMM.com. That's what I heard you say.
Adam and I have had this discussion many, many, many times. I cannot pull off the DeBrim. I am not a DeBrim guy.
Oh my gosh.
No, I mean, it takes a certain guy to be able to pull it off. I can't do it. It's just like a lot of guys out there can wear kilts. I can't do the kilt. I can't pull it off. It won't work for me.
Well, all right.
I will wear the Hawaiian shirts, though. I love those. But I'll pass on the DeBrim.
UPF 50 plus sun protection at debrim.com, DABRIM.com. Stay cool and ride longer. Listen, I'm not sponsored, but
I was going to say, are you being paid now by DeBrim and I didn't know about it?
No, but if someone from DeBrim is listening to this and you want me to push the DeBrim on a regular basis, I'm sure you can message us at the show. So,
I've got 50,000 pictures of Adam with his DeBrim on. I'll send them out to you.
I'm not afraid. So, but all right, you don't want to be cool and get yourself a DeBrim. Hey, there is a guy on here who's repelling with a DeBrim on the website. So, I mean, this is not just a cycling apparatus.
It's not just for cyclists.
No,
that should be their slogon or something. DeBrim.
There's guys on horses wearing them. There's people cycling.
That's what a cowboy hat's for.
There's somebody that says workplace sun safety. Looks like they're putting it around their hard helmet. But you know what they have here, and I've only seen this a couple times. I always forget about it. Is mine is a full DeBrim. I mean, I'm rocking a full DeBrim, but this one looks like a baseball cap DeBrim.
Oh, I've seen that where it's just like the bill of the hat in the front.
Would you be willing to wear that in honor of Jimmy?
God, I love Jimmy. The look just doesn't work for me. It really doesn't. So,
all right. I'm just kidding. What's next for us?
2 weeks? We'll be in Kentucky, riding the Bourbon Country Burn.
Looking forward to that.
Seeing a lot of our friends. A lot of our friends are scheduled to be there, and we have some. Prior to the event, we're going to be getting out there a day or two early, and we've got some distillery tours we're doing on our own.
Yeah, I think that would be good for our subscribers, listeners, followers. I think they might enjoy that. Well, I think we should do some recording.
We'll do some recording out there.
Yeah,
we'll get to hook up with with Phil,
Yes.
who was on our show our last show, which was a great show. So we'll get to meet back up with him, and should be a good ride. I'm hoping the trees will be turning about that time.
That would be awesome. I mean,
Get some foliage going.
Last year, the first day we went out, it was just absolutely beautiful. Unfortunately, because we were there and we had driven so long, we went out and did the ride. But man, though, if you remember, that wind was whipping. So
yeah,
I'm hoping we have good weather and really looking forward to seeing a lot of our friends and just getting to see you in person in 3D. I mean, no one knows this. We do the show on Zoom if we're not in person, so I can see you on a 2D monitor, but 3D would be a lot better.
Michael 3D experience. Got to get that.
Now be careful. He tried that at Captain EO at Epcot, and then they took that away. So you might want to be careful what you say there. So, all right, different Michael. So, well, great. Listen, I know that. We always end the show in a special way, so I think we should do that now.
Yeah, exactly. Let's bring back our guest.
All right, here we go.
To end out the show.
Sounds good. Let's go play now. The only thing I would say is if Katie, if you were with us, you know what we would always say. What would we say?
It's a great day for a bike ride.
Thank you
Absolutely.
so very much.
Excellent. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for coming along with Adam and Michael on Road Adventures with Cycling Men of Leisure. If you have enjoyed this, please subscribe to the show on the podcast app of your choice.
Hey, we just wanted to remind you that we've got some really cool products at our jersey and our swag store.
That's right. You can visit cyclingmenofleisure.com. At the top of the page, you'll find our stores page. Click there. There's 2 QR codes. The one on the left has a J on it. That's the store for the jerseys. The one on the right is just a swag store. Has all kinds of different items. Kind of customizable. You can kind of make the swag the way you want it. If the QR codes are giving you an issue, don't worry. Underneath, there's 2 buttons that you can click on. Thank you, and have a great day.